Good morning. Happy Monday, everybody. Welcome to Fly Nubian Money, where we help you master your mindset and maximize your money. My name is Tiara Williams. I'm also known as Miss Black Hollywood, also known as Karma J, but it all depends on the day. Today, I'm Miss Black Hollywood. And I'm joined by some lovely queens. Welcome to the show. Happy Monday. Happy Black History Month. It's still Black History Month in this piece. By the way, somebody on the panel, please find a Black History fact. Good morning, everybody. So today we are talking about a topic that I came across. I saw a video of T.I. talking about children who go to school are basically being nurtured, being programmed to be followers, to not be leaders, to just, follow the system that and the powers that be and all the things, because that's what he says. Is that true? Are we conditioning our children to be followers when we send them to school? That is the question today. I cannot have this conversation by myself. I am joined by some lovely queens. Say hello, everyone, to Renee Williams, clinical strategist, Marlo Lacen, TV and film producer, and Debra E. Williams, who is Debra Will Win on YouTube. All right, let's get into this conversation. I'm on the ones and twos, so if you see me over here, I'm like DJ Hollywood today. Just call me DJ Hollywood. Ficky. That's what y'all call me today. And that's just how we gonna rock today. How's everybody doing? Come up off your mic. It's cool. Tell me how you doing today.
I am great. Happy Monday, y'all.
Happy Monday. All right. So listen, before we get into the video, Marlo, I'll start with you. Do you feel like when we send our children to school, there's a system or a programming that is happening that is causing them to be, to lose their sense of self and purpose and to be conditioned to just become workers? Do you believe that?
To some degree, I believe that there is, especially in elementary and middle school, there's a little bit of conforming that is required in school. But I think that, and I don't believe that it has a place. I think that we should do something else with the children's time besides teaching them to line up and finger on your mouth and all of that, because you get to high school and college and that's not a fact for you. But I do think that also, T.I. should choose his words better. He has read the encyclopedia and the dictionary. The source is his best friend. And so he should have chosen his words better, because to me, the path that he took to his riches is the follower path. That is the path that followers take, right? So we'll get into it.
That is interesting. I want to ask more questions, but I don't. I will ask them in a second. Debra, what do you think? Are we creating employees from sending our children to school? Is there a mindset, Debra, that comes along with this?
I do believe so. I am a product of the public school system in Yonkers, New York. I did not feel that they gave me my best foot forward, other than to be a student and to go to work, get a job, no entrepreneurial, no business. We touched a little bit on business math in high school, but we didn't hone in on business models. And I would have loved that. I really would have loved that. And so for me, I didn't send my children to public school for that reason. In New York, we have a whole testing system where you get scored on how well students do so you can get funding. So it was about funding. And so that's the part that I did not like. So I sent my children to private school so they could be independent thinkers. Yeah.
So they could be okay, so maybe private school is the way. Renee, what do you think?
I agree with Debra. Now I'm a public child myself. However, the reason why I believe in private school is because they are become independent thinkers. As you talk about Yale, we talk about Harvard, MIT, they all teach their students to be independent thinkers and to be business owners. They give them the education, but also they make sure that they're thinking about buying your own business and how do you look at those things. So there's definitely a different level of education when you get into private schools and Ivy League schools. So I believe also. And then, again, back with the public school, we have to go back again. They were teaching us in the industrial age, right?
Mm-hmm.
We go to school to come out, learn the fundamentals or whatever that could be, and then we get out there and get into the factories.
Okay. Okay. I mean, I guess I'm just thinking about my own education and what was most productive for me, right? I'm a product of public school as well. Went all 12 years, all the way to high school. And I went to a private Catholic school for college, which was different, obviously. But I'm just thinking of like little programs, like little so during seventh and eighth grade year, I was put into a Afrocentric Educational Academy, which was like a charter school within our public school, right? So you had to apply, it was just this whole thing. And it was actually amazing because once I got in the program, I learned about the talented 10th. There's something about learning and like, it was like we were the girls who thought we were all of that because we were in this like this program within the high school. Now, outside of that, I had straight A's in the public school, but it was kind of easy to me. But once I got in this program, they really challenged us. They taught us about Black history. There's something about that I think that made a difference in me, just understanding who I was and where I came from, more so than mathematics and arithmetic. Me learning mathematics and arithmetic. Okay, me learning to read and to well, y'all know what I mean. But me learning those things, right? But there being this layer so young, learning who you are, where you came from, who, like, what our ancestors did before us. I think that really made all the difference. It had me thinking about being a talented part of this talented 10th is what they called us. And so obviously, if you know the history of talented 10th, you understand. But it created a sense of pride. You walked around and it was that, like, your shoulders were up. You're not like these other children. It does something to you. So when you go, you're like, oh, I got to be successful because here are the here are the shoulders I stand on. So okay, let's what do you guys think in the comments? What do you think? Before I show this next video, what are your thoughts around this? Do you think we're producing when we send our children, and when we even went to school, were we learning to be business owners? Were we learning to be entrepreneurial? What were we learning? Let's get into this first. Let's find out what T.I. said. Let's do it.
School is there to really to breed followers.
Yeah.
I think it's there to condition young kids to become human being adults that will join the workforce.
Yep.
And fall in line with the systems that have been set in place.
Yeah.
If you're someone that is a leader, someone that looks to blaze a trail and do things differently than they've ever been done before, and can lead the rest of these kids away from that system, they shun you.
I think, and you're right, to that point, I think everything about traditional K through 12 school is a system for people to just fall in line.
Fall in line. Let me ask you this. Did y'all just fall in line? Like, what was when you were graduating from high school, what was your idea? Like, I'm gonna go out and get a job, I'm gonna get a good government job. Like, what was I'm gonna start with you, Marlo. Like, do you feel like your school was preparing you for what? Were they preparing you for the world or not?
I mean, I think so. What was I personally thinking back then? I don't know, because I was on some other stuff. But when I look around at the people that I went to school with, right, my people that I graduated with in my graduating class, and the volume of success and how success looks different in all of those different people, and how everybody's walk has been different. But a vast majority of my classmates that I graduated with, they're doing well. They have all their teeth. Their children have gone on to do good things. And so I think that I was prepared. We were prepared. We did have something, because it's not accidental that so many people that I went to school with, I'm not like the great success story of my class. There's people that are wildly more successful. Hell, if y'all saw Jill Scott in The Tiny Desk, there's a singer behind her who calls himself Blue Suede. He and I went to high school all 4 years together. So I think that there is, it's what you make of it, right?
Mm-hmm.
It is, what are the expectations that your family has of you? What are the expectations that you have of yourself? Because we could look at this, right? Ti, since he is our subject matter expert on this, we could look at the children that he's reared, right? And what is going on with his kids, by and large, is not more different than what's going on with a lot of other kids, other people's kids. Some of them are doing well, some of them are king, right? You got a whole spectrum of kids. And are we gonna blame the school system? Because I'm sure Ti, with the amount of success that he's had over the past 20 years, I'm sure his kids weren't going to run-of-the-mill public schools that were just in the old neighborhood. So, but I don't know. But he's also talking to Cam Newton, and you got me, because you didn't include a video, and it was Cam Newton on the
And
other
it was
side.
Cam Newton.
And you got me.
Gotcha. Who's also saying the same thing. Like, yeah, I understand what you're saying. I'm like, shut up.
You went to college. You went to several colleges, bro.
Shut up, right? Be quiet. Stop. Yeah, look, stop it. Deborah, what do you think? You already said that you didn't feel like you were as prepared. Did you feel like I mean, this is a long time ago, but at the time, do you remember thinking like, oh, I'm prepared? Do you remember what your aspirations were the day you graduated from high school? Were you thinking, I just got to go get a good job?
So in my case, I was a teen mom. I had my son at 16, so he walked across the stage with me. And so with that being said, my mindset was to go and get a job. So I went to business school right after high school, because going away to college wasn't an option. And so I went to business school to learn administrative assistant work. It's the same kind of work my mom did for the county of Westchester. And so I figured my mom makes a living this way, so I'll get into it. That's what I'll do. But there were other things that I did want to do. But I feel like that my responsibility as a mother came first. So that's why, I went the route that I did go. So, yeah. So basically I had to, because of the situation, I had to do that. If I had more family support, I think I would have gone away to college to get the college experience and all of the good things. So, yeah.
What about you, Renee?
Oh, thank you. So I was very blessed to have gotten, when I was leaving out of high school for 1 year, they started a health academy, just the year in my senior year. And that really shaped what I knew I wanted to go and be a pediatrician and whatnot, but to have the health academy kind of steer me into exactly where I wanted to go. We had a summer program and those things that really helped being in a public school. And what's so funny, I won't mention, I went to public school in Oakland, and at the time they were all about some other business. But now, since they had started a health academy, now they're the most sought out high school in Oakland to go to. So those programs really make a difference. And so I think it does matter when they can structure it. So you have your charter schools now, you have your private schools, but it's something to structure, just like you had your school where it structures you in a certain way to mold you to think as you're moving on into college, or what type of work or line that you want to do. It makes a difference.
Yeah, I agree. I love that. You're absolutely right. I mean, obviously, when you're graduating from high school, nothing is developed. You're just like, oh, so you tend to look around and, I think like Marlo said, you're just influenced by what's around you. Your environment is everything at that point. So I don't know if it's necessarily, I love what Dennis Spraggin said. He said that, did he say that home is the first school, basically. The first school is home. And so, you're looking around. I know for me personally, I was looking around. There was entrepreneurs in my family doing different things. I just got to see. I was very heavily influenced by hip hop. I was like, okay, right? I want to be a journalist. Like, I want to go and write for the source, and I want to go and do all of these things. And I think I was just thinking, that's the way I was thinking. I was thinking I could do whatever, right? Like, I wasn't scared of anybody. I would approach whoever. I mean, there's time. I just make an opportunity pretty much out of anything. I was just the girl that was like, oh, we can do that. All right, well, let me do that. But I just think that was just from watching. I had no idea. Sometimes ignorance is bliss because you don't know what you can't do yet. You're just, so I think that was the programming I had. Like, I didn't know. I just figured I'd ask, and that I think a lot of that has worked in my favor over the years. So okay, this is interesting to me just because I'm trying to understand, right? Like, there's this system, right, that we live in that gives us the illusion that we have options, right? When you go, I liken that to the grocery store. You walk down a cereal aisle and it feels like you have options, but you have the options that you are given to make a decision based on the options you're given, right? So it almost feels like sometimes when I live in this country, that is what it feels like. Not to, go cerebral. I don't know if I, toke a blunt on that, but like, or whatever, right? It was like, have you ever thought that we really got the option? um, it's Monday, but it's a real thing, right, Marlo? So do you think sometimes if you just kind of step outside of it, could you understand what Ti is saying about, like, the idea of us having options, but also being, I mean, disproportionately marginalized in our community, things like that. So, what are you thinking about that?
I wish that, and here I am picking up on your cerebralness, right? And I wish that
I
this
don't even
nation
smoke
had
weed.
kept its promise to us, right?
Um,
Because poverty is the root of all the negative mindset that we have.
hmm,
Poverty is the thing, right, that made it okay to sell drugs in the community, because at least I'm not poor.
hmm,
Poverty is the thing that makes backstabbing business practices and politicians that run for Black people and do us dirty. Like, all poverty and lack are at the root of all of that, right? And people doing anything for money. And I think that that's probably has been the biggest detriment to our company, our country, our community.
hmm,
And I wish the country had just kept its promise. Won't give us the 40 acres and let us settle it on our own, right? Allow us to thrive and create our own unhindered.
hmm.
And then I think we'd be in a better place. But so much of what we got going on is just driven by people that have suffered from a lack. So Ti could say, oh, I think that the schools, yeah, it's true. But if you never found rap music, if you never found success as a hip hop artist, you were a detriment to the community.
Come
Did
on.
I want your kids should be in school because you were selling crack. So they shouldn't be in the house while you selling crack. They
That's right.
shouldn't be exposed to that. So I think sometimes this thinking that we forget, right? He done moved behind a gate and he's forgot about the destruction that he's left behind.
Mm,
And so, in having this moment of clarity with the great cerebral mind, Cam Newton, he is forgetting how some of what he did led to this. I don't agree. Look, I wish families could have the choice to not send their kids to school. I wish that it wasn't a crime that was punishable by jail time and fines for you to keep your child home from school, because
hmm.
people should be able to teach their child in whatever the way is. But what we see when people keep their kids home is the kids be feral, climbing up the walls like animals. Like, so I don't know, but I know that school in terms of society and
Hmm.
societal expectations, I guess that's what America's school is supposed to be. Now, we don't teach the soft skills until high school, right? We want teenagers who are hot and hormonal to be able to figure out their issues without fighting, when we should teach them that in kindergarten when we're teaching them how to line up. So maybe we need to blow it up and rebuild it. But I think that school is necessary. I don't think that people are having these conversations in Asia. I don't think that people are having these conversations in Europe, where they still go to school during the summer. Most European countries don't take a summer off.
Yeah.
So I don't think that other communities and countries are having this issue. But America is racism, and racism is America. So Black people don't like schools because we got racism handed us in the form of schools and institutions. So I don't know. It's a hot mess, y'all.
I like it. I like what you're saying. I just think it's so interesting, because you're absolutely right. I mean, there's so many things that can be learned at a school, right? It's not only if I go to school with the three of you, right? If the four of us go to school is what I was going to say. But if I can, every day that we get to school, I can learn something from Renee. It's not all about like just what you're learning in the classroom. It's what you're being exposed to once you get there. You see how people are living, how they're not living. Depending on what's happening in your house, you're like, oh, this is different from Renee's house. Renee, what y'all be doing in here? And some of that exposure is like it could be just majorly valuable to your life. Renee, I'm gonna go to you since I used that example and threw you in there. But do you think that, I guess this whole idea, do you think that obviously school is good, but do you think that people should go to school, the opposite of what Ti is saying? We should educate ourselves and our children. What do you think about that?
Absolutely. We should go to school. Just like when I look at basketball players or any of them, some of them where you see they just squandered their money away. And, they're out there just having a good time. I think before they start, they need to go to school. They need to have some type of training around there about finances and how to really understand what they're getting into. So that's all through education. So I definitely believe we should go to school. And you're right. People watch. There are parents like me. Now my thinking is a little different with Brian. I would say to him, think about being a business, Well, his mama didn't do that. So now he has a good job, but he didn't think he's not, I'll get to that later. Because guess what? I'll get to that later. So, we do watch our parents, and we mock our parents, and we end up becoming our parents. So, and where does that stem from? The lack of opportunities that we've been blocked from and not know.
Debra, before we go to this next video, I just want to know, when you were, so I heard what you said about your own story, but when it came to your children graduating from high school, what type of things did you encourage them to do?
I definitely encouraged them to, stay in school. I was that mom. I was at everything. I was very supportive because I believe support matters. I was, involved, hands-on. I was excited about the curriculum that they were learning because I was like, dang, I didn't even have this in school. Like, you get to take your book home? Huh. That's the thing, that we couldn't even take books home when I was in school. We had to make copies of the books. I also, in high school, I was saying to Renee earlier before we started the show that our school was going through a desegregation case. They didn't want to bus us into the white neighborhoods. And they were willing, the city of Yonkers was willing to pay $100,000 a day fine.
Wow.
Because they didn't want to do that. So, when I think about, in comparison to when I went to school and my children went to school, did my teacher really want to teach me? The prison, prison to pipeline, when they talk about those things, it's real. The way that how they have us line up, how they have us at lunchtime in the courtyard. It resembles the same things that take place in the jail system. So I'm like, how successful, can our Black boys and girls be in this type? And it's still like that to this day. The children still line up. I mean, I understand order, but it's even when they go outside to play, you have four teachers in the corner, like how a jail yard is. So, those things come to my mind when I think about it. But in the private school system, Like I said, they were able to be free thinkers. They were very creative. They had a lot of creative things. I remember my son being very good at math. If they needed extra help, that wasn't an issue. Of course, I'm paying, so they're going to give me, what I want. I pay for everything, the books. You bring your books home. You had a set of books at home and a set of books at school.
Hmm.
Those things matter. If your kid has a heavy backpack, all those type of things matter. And again, the support from home,
Yeah.
that was a big for me, to make sure that I was there, to make sure that the teachers saw me, my presence in the school, real important, real important. Like, I'm here, talk to me,
Yeah.
don't talk crazy to my children,
Yeah.
because I'm that mom, and my children are 14 years apart. So that was still the same thing that I gave to my son, I gave to my daughter.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Okay. Amazing. Well, let's jump into this second video. Let's see. Let's add a little bit more to this conversation.
What's good, my peoples? It's your boy, So Crumble here. Hope everybody having a good one. I'm coming through. I saw this post the other day where Ti wrote that he said that school is only there to create followers who would join the workforce and fall in line with the system. He's not wrong. He's not wrong. And I would say this for somebody who went to school or who went to college. I went for more what I wanted to do, but it was still the same thing to where like the skills I learned in school, or I learned by hustling in school, I still use today. Hopefully, I can make it a full time job so I can do it with the skills I learned. But when you went to college, man, they don't teach you about the important things you need to know. Like financial literacy is one of them. Like how to like invest your money, how to save your money, what accounts to look at, how at the time how to write a checkbook, how to use a debit card, how to like strategize, plan your expenses out, pay yourself first. Books out there that help you with your finances, which I read a lot. And the thing is like there is a great books out there that help you, but I learned that outside of school because the thing is that is true to where like you go to school and they just teach you how to get a job. They don't teach you how to like stand on your own. So a lot of time people get done, and this is for majority of people who don't got connections, stuff like that, are not lucky to get in them certain areas. They don't get the job they want, and then they think they gotta like do this job, pay bills, etc. But even the people who do get them jobs and network stuff like that, even internships, a lot of people not getting paid for that stuff. If they are, it's very small. And then when you get the job, you feel like your loyalty is with that company. Well, that is all true. But the same time, what Tim need to understand too, like we still need school, man. Like Ti is in a place where he makes he's well set. He's a millionaire. So he could teach his kids about these things that he made mistakes on because he have the resources to
The resources to do it, right? So yeah, at this point, like Marlo said, hindsight is 2020, right? Him and Cam Newton are sitting together ruminating over what was wrong and what was right and what didn't work and what did work and all of that. So we have to take that also into consideration. But I often think about, and it's hard, right? Because I know where we came from. I know in the 90s, things like this weren't being talked about. um but in high school, there was a stock market class, and this is one of my biggest regrets in high school. Senior year, there was a stock market class, and they used to do this big stock exchange. The whole class was about doing like this stock exchange program. I'm sorry, project. And I was so scared of it because everybody's like, "Oh my God, it's so hard!" And the stock market, right? And so when I was a senior, I was like, well, I'm gonna just, one of my friends was like, well, I have mine, so I'm gonna just give it to you, right? So I took it, I turned it in, I got an A, but I didn't learn how the stock market worked, right? Or, there was just these little opportunities because things were happening, but I think it felt like so far away from me. I'm just talking about it personally, like, oh, this is what, white people do. Like or I would hear my family talk about the stock market. And I remember my aunt so vividly. She was like, you ain't gonna make no money in the stock market. I put my money in the stock market and I lost all my money, right? And this is like, and so I just think that was kind of what the stock market is for white people. It's something that we don't do. It's something we know nothing about. Black people don't do it. You put your money in it and you don't get a fast return or whatever it is, right? Just that long term kind of thinking. And I know that we've been traumatized as Black Americans, but there's so many things that were available that I think that we weren't just paying attention to. And I'm not saying that we were completely locked out, right? Because the same books existed, right? The same thing. So sometimes I think we get in these spaces. My point is that we get in these spaces where we're like, we weren't exposed to this and we didn't have that and we didn't know about this and they kept it from us, when nobody kept it from us, technically, if it's in a book. But it just wasn't part of our environment. Can we just say that instead of saying like it wasn't there for us? You know what I mean? Can we just, like, environment is a little bit of everything. So I wonder, I'm gonna go to you, Renee. What do you think about that? What do you think about, like, it just being I don't know, was it something that let's go back. Is it something that your parents talked about? Is it something that you were exposed to younger with financial literacy? I mean, you already said no, but did you even have any consciousness of it being around?
No,
Yeah.
no, not at all. So, um, you hear about it. Money don't grow on trees. Do you think I got this? It's just the same from our family that has been embedded in us, and that's something that we have to overcome. That's why school is important. The right choices of school and what type of programs that you put your children in does make a difference, because they are getting exposed to what that is. For me, when I was, got into the Health Academy, I got exposed to going to my first restaurant in San Francisco. And so I was like, wow, this is, and then that made me to expand my mind to want to say, well, what else can I get? Or what else I can get if I go to school and do these things? I was exposed. A lot of our children, they're in Oakland and they haven't even gone across the bridge, to have a meal or to see anything, a museum. So it's all about exposure and opening up the person's mind. And I don't know why this is on my mind, and it may not have anything to do with anything, but my son, as well as every Black man that I have encountered who's a judge's son, I dated all of those, they have always been pulled over by police at least one time. They always have that experience that I've known. So when Debra was talking about the system, how they have us lining up in the court and all this other stuff, not doing anything. He's just driving his car. It's just like, it seems like we are targeted. They target Black men and they'll pull them over no matter where they come from and traumatize them in some type of way. And I think they put them in the system and try to track them or whatever, but I don't know why that came up. But anyway, sorry. Maybe you guys just didn't see that.
We got flooded with buddy weed today. None of us smoke weed. We are gonna talk about. So Debra, I'm gonna pass the blunt. Like, this is what in terms of just financial literacy, and I know you said you've already expressed like this is not something that was floating around, but at any point, like, what were your thoughts around financial literacy kind of growing up? Did anybody in your environment kind of have that, were you exposed to it young? Deborah?
Yes, financial literacy. When I think about it, it was always the corrupt side of the financial literacy, and, growing up in the 70s, 80s, and 90s, I saw some things. I saw a lot of things living in the hood. So with that being said, it was the way, like, how Tiara was getting money. Okay, we're just gonna keep it simple. I looked at a video where he talked about when he was a class clown in class, and he always was good with numbers and math, and in his algebra class, he was able to give the answer And the teacher made him come to the board and told him, well, you do it, teach the class. And he taught it. And he said that day, the math teacher quit his job. And
Mm.
that was real powerful, because I'm like, a math teacher quit his job because you could explain it better to the students than he could. So
Wow.
he learned something in school and in the streets as well, like he said. So, I do know that traditional and non-traditional ways of learning works. We may not all be able to learn in the systematic way that United States has created for us.
Mhm.
But as parents, we have to tune into our children and see what it is that they need. My son, I talk about like how he was able to invest in Bitcoin early, and
Mhm.
he tried to encourage me to do it. And I was like, I'm the same way with the stocks, oh my God, I don't want to lose my money. I had a friend who lost her key to her Bitcoin. And so she never got that money back.
Mm.
But my son, he was able to pop. And the young lady who taught him about the Bitcoin, she was able to make money. And I'm sitting back like, oh man, I should have gave him that $500.
Mhm.
Like,
For real. I mean,
more.
Bitcoin, listen, I think that, yes,
That's
I understand. That's the
500 back
biggest regret.
then. He was like, Mom, give me 1,000. I'm not giving you $1,000 of my money. I worked hard for this money. He said, all right, well, give me 500. He kept going lower and lower. And I still wouldn't listen to my son because I didn't understand it. And I should have said to him, could you explain it better for mommy? Could you tell me, what it is you're doing? I don't want to just take that risk. And I did not listen. And I'm
Mhm.
learning now to buy that Bitcoin is a lot of money, a lot
Well,
of money.
the
So
next Bitcoin is out there right now. That's the
it
thing
is.
about the market, right? Where there's the next big thing that's happening right now if we're just paying attention to trends and all of that. So it's not too late, sis. Um it's so funny because I just want to go back to this for a second. I keep thinking about what we did learn in the 90s, right? Because I think we're all like, we was young in the 90s and there was a lot of things happening right at the same time, and I think we were learning about money. We were just learning about money from hip hop. We were being exposed to the way to spend money instead of save it. We were told to make it rain and wear big gold chains, and that was the financial literacy that I think we were learning. So it was hard to just be like, yeah, I'm gonna put my money, I'm gonna put my $500 in something I can't see. I can see that gold chain. I can see that outfit. I can see, So Marlo, what do you think about that? Like, for me, I feel like I was learning to be a consumer. That's what I was learning in the 90s. That's what I was learning about money. So when I got anything, I always talk about, I will not let it go, y'all. My student loan, I had a full ride to college and I still took money from Sally Mae, right? And that little money that I took from Sally Mae, I was spending on what hip hop told me to spend it on. So Manolo Blahniks, right? I was buying Gucci and, being in the middle of, like I said, New Orleans was very was very you could just listen, walk down Canal Street, it was Burberry
Materialistic.
everywhere, there was Louis Vuitton everywhere, right? So it was all of that. Like, that was my influence as a young adult. And so, Marlo, what do you think about that? What were you learning?
I was
Where were you
learning
learning your lessons from financial literacy? What were
I
you
was
learning
learning the
financially?
same thing, right? And I want to go back because you struck a chord with me when you were talking about the financial literacy piece. We actually had a class when I was in high school. They called it free enterprise. And my teacher was actually a very successful bar owner in the city because, that's our culture. Club and a bar is on every corner. So she was actually a really successful bar owner. She owned a lot of real estate. She's been since then she's been featured like on the Today Show, and they talked about how great a teacher she was and how influential she was, and she really was. And while she wasn't sitting down being like, this is how you become a successful business owner, she was like, pay attention to what's going on in the world, right? She would make us get newspaper clippings. You had to come in and you had to have a story and you had to be able to give her a summary of what that story was about. No BS. She was going to know because she was going to read the story. We only had one newspaper in town, and she will have read everything in that newspaper from front to back. And so I think in that moment, she was just an old fussy Black lady, right? Whose class, if I could avoid it, I would not go because I just didn't want to hear her mouth. But when I look back on Miss Cryer, I believe she is part of the reason why so many kids that came out of that school were successful, because she was pouring into us, and the stuff that we were like kind of half listening to or didn't want to hear that day, it still was soaking in and sinking in. Now, I said all that to say her influence was not as strong as the influence of Cash Money taking over for the 99 2000, of Rockefeller, of all of those rap labels that came out and was either pronouncing or mispronouncing European words and fashion brands wrong. Whatever was going on, we wanted to be in the midst. New Orleans is a city. We like to dress up. We like to walk down the street on Sunday dressed to the nines. It's called the second line. Like, that's just part of the lifestyle. And if you want to be part of the lifestyle, you got to look the part. Otherwise, you'll feel out of the lifestyle. And so as a young person, I definitely was more influenced by hip hop than I was anything else. Now, I will also say those hip hop artists that managed to cross over and end up on CNBC and end up on 60 Minutes to really have a kind of a real full conversation about success and wealth and building and growing, I was able to learn from them as in that arena as well. And that kind of shifted my mindset because I was following what they were doing. And as many of them were growing up into business people, I was trying to do the same. I was trying to come into my own around the same time. And so I think there's always an opportunity to learn, whether it's traditional. I learn from y'all every Monday. In my work, in my full-time employment, I'm interviewing people. I'm learning from those people every day. It may not be something that could build wealth, but it's something that could build me as an individual, as a person. And I think that probably we need to look at learning differently, right? Because learning is not necessarily what happens in the school. Learning is what happens all around us every single day, right? Every single day there's an opportunity to learn. And I think if we look at it like that, and we start interacting with our kids like that, where there's always a chance to learn something, I think that we'll see things very, very differently in the avenue of learning. And I think we'll look at school differently too, because I think it has a purpose, but I think that we are abusing it in a way, like misusing it and having it, like Debra said, closely aligned with prison.
You know, I just want to say, because you sparked something and when you were talking about, okay, so like you're saying, the rappers and how they came in and pushing consumerism. Who was taking over the labels? Because back in the day where, you know, I forgive me, where I'm gonna just say where they were saying the lyrics and you understood the lyrics very well, that they were pronounced and they had real nice stories to them and real good vibes. And then all of a sudden the rap industry changed to where, you know, it's all about the gold chains and, you know, the fast cars and whatnot. Who were owning those labels? And they were owning those labels to be able to push that for consumerism. And there's like, even with the television, you know, how we saw ourselves, you know, you saw it back in the day. I remember about, you know, the Barbie dolls, you know, I don't know when the first black Barbie doll was around, but I remember when we had the Barbie dolls and that's what we wanted. So it was all about when you saw what things on TV, the music that you were hearing, all of it was pushing us to be a consumer.
But I think also hip hop has always been, I'm not going out now, it got outlandish in the 90s, but I've been there since the day, I'm a day one, I am hip hop. And you know, the gold chains were always there, right? The gold hoop earrings, like the aesthetic of hip hop is unchanged. What's different is, as you rightly pointed out, the influx of designers and brands and marketers understanding that this is an avenue of almost free promotion, right? And the rappers only got backlash if they weren't aligned with the brand, right? Cavassier say they didn't want the blacks to be drinking the Cavassier, and we stopped. Like like it ain't no bones about it. We don't have to drink it. But I think that it's always been there. And I think that Black people, like, there's a whole campaign ad, if y'all have never seen it, it's like called Marketing to the Negro or something. The video is available on YouTube, but there's a whole training manual that used to be used by businesses for how to pitch to Black people versus how to sell to white people, because it is different. We do care about looking good. We do want to be getting a little double take from people. We do want people to say, all right, now I see you. Like, and they were taught how to
Appeal to our
that need.
trauma.
Right.
To appeal to the trauma. That's what it
Absolutely.
sounded, and that's what it was. Like the video was like the way that the country has made us feel, make them feel opposite. If they have these clothes on, make them feel, and we fall right, and unfortunately we fell right into that trap, right? Where they were able to exploit. But you know what, Marlo, you said something. I felt like there was a balance in the message in early hip hop. You know, you had variety. You had some people talking about Black Power. You had some that was the flashy rappers. You had rappers that cared about family and a community. And so I think that's the difference. The lack of variety that exists now, obviously intentional.
Yeah.
Something that's very intentional about, you know, the messages that we receive and where what's funded, what messages are funded, and how the media plays such a part. You know, I was thinking about something I saw yesterday about how like the media is the messenger. And I ultimately, that's probably the reason why myself and Marlo went into the industries that we went into, maybe. But just that idea that if I can program you, that's why it's called programming. If I can program you through television, through the things that you watch, then I can control what you do, how you feel, all of your emotions, what you are paying attention to, what you're distracted by. And so it's just important to be, I think, consciousness. I mean, we do this daily for your consciousness, right? So you're aware of what you're thinking and what you're pouring yourself into. Anybody want to add to that before I go to the next video?
I just want to say, yes, I love hip hop. Hip hop it originated in New York, y'all. So
We
listen,
know. We
listen.
know.
I was just listening to KRS-One on the train the other day, and I was just like, you know, he really, his lyrics really appeal to our community. And it was like he hit a ceiling in the industry. They were not going to let that music be out there educating and not, you know,
Right.
get these young kids together like they should have. All of his songs had a message. I mean, whether it was about AIDS, if it was about education, you know, you headed for self-destruction, you know, killing each other and things like that. They definitely hit a ceiling. And when I think about the LL, it gave us like love vibes, even though it was a rapper, you know, you wanted to have that boyfriend that you was in love with. And, you know,
You wanted to be a roundaway girl.
Listen, I was the roundaway girl. I was.
We was all roundaway girls. Girl, we was.
And I'm so glad that I had that exposure early, because like the younger generation that's getting into rap now, it's a totally different animal, if I could call it that. Totally different. It doesn't give self-awareness. It's about exposure in the negative way. And like you said, it's all about brands, labels, and a lot of cosmetic surgery stuff, you know? So toxic.
Toxic things. Let's go to this next video. I know we're almost out of time. Time has gone. Time has passed. Let's watch one more video though.
Out of school, that's no longer your child. That's why they always wait for your kid to go to school. The police and CPS will wait till they go to school and go to school to talk to them, because the school is the parent now, and the school will give them access to your child. And you say, no, the school is your parent. That's why you have to have permission to get your child out of school. You just can't go get them out of school. You go to jail. It's not your child, but people don't know that. So you give up a lot of rights by sending your children to public schools as a parent. If an emergency was to happen in this country, and we've seen this, whether that's a school shooting, a terrorist attack, or a tornado, you cannot go get your kid. I don't care what's going on, because you're not the parent anymore. That's why the school is obligated to report things. That's why if your kid wanted to come to school and play Charlene instead of Charleston, the school don't have to tell you. And the school can have a dress-up closet for your kid to go to school and dress up as a girl while at school and not tell you nothing because you're not the parent during these hours.
Well,
I think that's really interesting.
my kid is in public school, so let me just go on clerical a couple of things that he said that I know are absolutely falsehoods. If I wanted to, after this podcast is done, if I wanted to get up and go get my daughter, I will get up. I will go get my daughter with my proper identification. I will get buzzed in. I will sign the paper. I will say, hey, this kid right here, this is the grade she's in. I'm bringing her home. Ain't nobody stopping me. I've never had an issue. So you can definitely sign your child out of school. Do you need identification? Yes. I want you to have identification. I want you to be on the list. Don't give nobody my kid that ain't on the list that I designated. So yes, you can go get your kid, but you got to show who you are to make sure that they are not complicit in a kidnapping. 2, in terms of, I don't know why, if there's a tornado coming, right? If a school is fortified and the kids can get on the inside of the fortified building, I don't know why you would get in your geo prism and go try to get your kid in the tornado. That is, to me, it sounds like your kid needs to be at school because you as a parent don't make good decisions. So that is also a fallacy. If the rains here in Louisiana get so hard, and the weatherman has said by this time of day it's going to be flash flooding, if I want to go get my kid before the flash flooding because that is more safe, right? I can do that. So that also is a fallacy that he is saying. But Charleston White is for clicks, right? Mm-hmm. Charleston White is for people who don't want to do the things themselves. Now, I will say it gets problematic when kids text their parents and something is going on. There have been a couple of instances, y'all know I'm in the media here locally. There have been a couple of instances where there was a gunman that was near a school and a school was put on lockdown. But here's the thing, I'm a parent that signed up for the alerts. So if there's a lockdown at my child's school, yes, I'm going to know about it because when they send that mass text, I'm going to get it. Now, if you're irresponsible, if you didn't sign up for the alerts because you don't want to be bothered with what them people got to say, if you keep bouncing phone number to phone number to phone number and the people can't keep up with you to give you the text alerts, it's going to be a problem for you understanding what is going on with your child. So there's a bridge between parental responsibility and government overreach. And if you feel like there's government overreach, there's a thing called a school board that you can go and voice your opinion to. But I guarantee you this, my son was in private school. My son is my oldest. When he was in private school, I had more issues in the private school with him being a young Black man who was one of about 15 in that private school, that prestigious old school in the city of New Orleans. I had more problems there than I ever had with any of my children in public school in terms of the rules and the regulations, and even though my money was being spent. So I don't know, Charleston White like to get people blood pressure up with the clicks, but he is wrong on a lot of instances with his assertion of public school. I don't know where Charleston White is from. Maybe that's how they run it there, but that's not my personal experience.
You know, it's interesting.
I do want to say one thing. I want to say one thing about what Charleston said. He was correct about, he talked about the closet.
Yeah, I was just about to say that.
I was going to say, I do know in the public school that if a child says they're boy and they want to be a girl, that you are not supposed to even mention that to the parents. You are supposed to address them as what they say they want to identify themselves as. So that part is true, because I know my first lady's an English teacher, and she said, I'm trying to get them to conjugate verbs. I do not care what they want to call themselves right now. But
well, I live in a red state, so again, no problems here, because they didn't shut down anything that looked like trans conversation, trans playing basketball, ain't doing nothing. So again, that's a state to state issue. And so people, check the rules of your state, people. Check the rules of your county, your district. Don't be listening to Charleston Hampton, whatever this man's name is. Look like he smoke a little crack every other day. Don't listen to this man, because he is not the authority on all things in all states. That is the thing that white people like to call states' rights. States' rights still do exist, at least until November 6th.
You know, I happen to agree with Charleston, right? In the sense of, in the sense, not all of it, is that there is a bit of some people hand over their children and expect for the school to do all of the things, right? They don't have any obligation to teach their children lessons at home. They just want to give them over to somebody else. And to an extent, the school unfortunately takes them. Now, I know for the school that we send Lauren to is a prestigious performing arts school here. Yeah, listen, we roll up to get her. The teacher definitely came out and was like, "Why do you need to take her? Why do you need to take her?" Now, it was a little invasive, but they are it's a rigorous program and they are serious about that, right? So it's like we have a project coming up. Like they are serious about arts. You hear me? And so as I was listening, I was like, a little bit, but you ain't gonna have my kid, right? But there is. I live in a blue state. I live in California. Liberal, 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 liberal. So we actually had that where we got notices. Somebody they sent out, Lauren's an actress, and so they sent out castings. They were looking for trans or bi or like gay kids to do a documentary, right? But you're sending these castings to kids under 15 years old. I think at the time Lauren was like 11. And I was like, oh, it's time to take her out of public school because there's just too much going on. There's too much that doesn't have to be disclosed. And I didn't like that. She isn't in another program, and we can't help the fairy, and we can't help the fairy in this environment. Like we can't help all the letters. Like we can't help it. There, it's everywhere. It's all of the things. But what was happening was the kids were, Lauren said during COVID, and I'm gonna come to you, Renee, and we're gonna wrap this up because we got to get into Black History facts, but we started a few minutes late. So one of the things that Lauren said was during COVID, some of the kids had access to, obviously, they had access to computers. They were looking at a lot more things. So when they got back to school, a lot of the kids were like, I think I'm bi. I think I'm gay. You're probably gay because you hang with her. Like they were literally influenced by the other kids. The other kids, it's the blind leading the blind, right? And so there was a lot of that here where there's just this agenda is working. So anyway, I said that to say that we just have to be mindful when we are sending our children to school about the ways, because he said something about a kid can come to school and say something, and they can have CPS come up to you. You know what I mean? Like there's all kinds of things, and not give you your kids back. So there's a part of this, and it's for the kids' protection, but also that we have to make sure that we are walking this fine line, and the influence is from home more so than what they're finding at school. Renee, what do you have to say about this? And we're gonna get into final thoughts and in a second, but in our Black fact. But what do you think about that? I wanted you to get a chance to respond to the video.
Thank you. Charleston is a lightweight fool in a sense of some of the things that he's saying. And for me, and also we have to say it's vice versa. It's not just the teachers, the parents should take responsibility and full control of what's going on as well. So like, my son came one time and said, Mom, the principal is looking at me in a certain kind of way, and he felt uncomfortable. So, we have to listen to things, and it's a true story.
Wow.
He started having him read books on, Frederick Douglass and all of the people back then. And apparently the peanut guy, I forgot his name at this time right now, but the one who discovered the peanut, apparently they were gay, and it's in the books. And so he had him reading these things and stuff like that. It's nothing wrong with bisexuality or homosexuality, or your opinion. What I'm trying to say, as a parent, you have to clue and listen to things. I was always up there at the school, always being involved. I knew what everything was going on, because that is what we're supposed to do as a parent. I do not give anyone full control over talking to my child unless it's approved by me. So they think they may have some responsibility, but I have the full responsibility because he came from here.
That's right. That's right. Listen, y'all, this has been such a good conversation. I know we were all kind of all over the place with it in terms of, but there's a lot to be said about how much influence we have over what's happening in our child's life, and in our child's life before we send them off anywhere, right? We can really fortify, and we end up taking, what I was going to say was, we end up taking Lauren out of school for a year and just getting her spirit together, because there was too much going on. Like Anonymous says, you live in California, baby girl. I know. So the answer to that was for us to just double down on what we were doing at home, making sure that she was in programs with Debbie Allen and Wendy Raquel Robinson, and people that, like, old school aunties that we knew had the best. And thank God we have those influences here, because that's the thing about California. You live in Cali, baby girl, so you have access to some things that people don't have. And so when you got Debbie Allen saying, you can't do that, there was times when, I'd be like, listen, Auntie Debbie, thank you. So we had those influences. So let's get into our final thoughts. If we can try to keep our final thoughts to 45 seconds or less, Queens, that would be amazing. And then who has a black fact? You, Deborah? Deborah's gonna teach us something today? Perfect. All right. So Marlo, I'll start with you. What are your final thoughts around this topic? And let people know where they can find you.
So my final thought is what it always is around these types of broad issues. Do what's right for your family. What is right for your kids? Make sure that the things that are values to you, the values that you want to instill in your kid, you're doing it at home. Honestly, that's not school's job. School's job is not to give your child the values. They're there for the fundamentals, the basics, the societal expectations. Everything else is on you as a parent and the strength of your village. So think about that. Think about the people that are in your child's village. Are they helping you raise a maniac, or are they helping you raise a hometown hero? That is very important. Like, you have to think about the people that you have around your kid, the things that are influencing your kid. Have conversations with them. What's going on with you? What's going on with your friends? Oh, I don't know if I like that. Well, like, keep up with your kids. It is not the state. We don't want the state raising our kids. Don't put the state all up in your business. Don't make yourself vulnerable for the state to get all up in your business. If you want to get all up in my business, I don't really put it out there, but that's my Instagram handle on the screen. You can follow me. I'm trying to be more open with you guys. I have a little project that I'm working on that I'm slowly trying to unveil and trying to loosen up the clamshell so that y'all could get what's up here waiting for you. And that's it. I will see y'all next Monday, because I love y'all, and I hope y'all learn some things in Black History Month. I can't wait to hear what Deborah has to teach us.
Yes. Wonderful. Make sure you check out my homegirl. That's my homegirl. Love her, love her, love her down. Renee, what are your final thoughts, and where can people find you?
My final thought is what Marlo was saying, and I'm sure everyone believes, is just having the option and being open to your children so they can talk with you, and not letting anyone, school system or anyone, any organization, raise your child or your children. You are the ultimate responsibility for what happens for them at the critical stages as they're growing up, until they get to a point where they can freely think independently for themselves. Yeah. And I think so that's very important to know that we have that right for ourselves and for our children. I'm Renee Williams with cyclesync.com. The website is trycyclesync.com. So when 70% of us feel like we're not being heard and we're dying 3 times the rate, silence is not an option, you guys. Your health, your voice, finally is being heard with this one app that has its cycles optimization, menopause, and maternal health equity. And so what happens and what it does, it compiles your symptoms and any types of things that you may be feeling. You pull that together, you have your receipts, you can go into the doctor's office and you can have a tangible and real conversation with your doctor without them telling you what you should be doing for yourself. Thank you.
Yeah. I love it. I love it. Make sure you check her out. Make sure you check Renee out. All right, Debra, what are your final thoughts, and where can people find you, sis?
All right. This was a great conversation today, Queens. My final thought is support. Support your children. Whatever their gifts and talents are, you hone in on that. Don't just take it for granted. If they talk a lot, hey, maybe they're going to be a journalist or a newscaster, like use those things that they have to help them grow, support them and whatever it is that they do. I know I would go to the edge of the earth for my children. Whatever they wanted to do, I was there. As a grandmother, I am there for those grandchildren as well. And that's how I got on Fly Nubian Money. I was supporting the channel, supporting Dr. Boyce Watkins. Shout out to the B1 family. And because I felt comfortable in this atmosphere, and I learned, and I'm learning so much more. I will learn until the day I die. That's a bar for you, Ti. Okay, and I'm open to it. I'm open. So you could find me here and in the chat on Fly Nubian Money. I'm Debra Will Win 11 on YouTube. When I open up those other social media channels, I'll let y'all know. So that's that.
Sure. We love us some Debra. We love us some Debra, sis. We are so glad to have you on the platform. And yeah, I love it. I love it. Debra told me one time, was it 205? 210? 210? 205? 5. She watched 205 episodes of Fly Nubian Money last year. That just lets me know how many shows did I produce last year. Oh my God. We've been working. So that is amazing. And we appreciate you all who come every single day. I don't even have to look. Double A, Dennis Spraggins, The Real Black Lexicon, Anonymous, Ruby, I've been seeing a lot more lately. Thank you so much for joining us. We love you, love you, love you, love you. Mama Walterine, what up? Shan, thank you for coming through. We really appreciate y'all. And my final thoughts is this. The title was T.I. says, schools train employees, not owners. And I just think that all of that, I think I want to be a mockingbird to my sister queens, but I just want to say, like, training comes from home. What I learned in that year of having Lauren at home is that you are the ultimate influence over your child's life and what they learn. I try to be while she is also learning to be um, an actress and in learning how to, work as an actress, that's great. But mommy want to teach you how to learn how to make money from wherever you are. You can sit at, some days I work from the bed, and that's important for her to see that she doesn't have to go somewhere and work. And if she doesn't want to, she can create something. She can own something that then pays her to just live however she wants to live, whatever she wants to do. I think that's important to show her. So hopefully she's paying attention. I'm always like throwing things out because I'm the one. I was her age, like, how can I make some money? I was 7 years old, like, how can I make some money? Right. So just looking around my environment, that was what my family was. So here I was at 7 years old, knocking on doors, talking about, hi, I'm Tiara, and I started a babysitters club, and we can babysit your kids for $10 an hour. That was me at 7, right? So that spirit is not gone. I try to show my daughter that. Hopefully she picks it up, because someday she'll be like, yeah, I don't feel like it. I got to think about it. Let me think about it, mom, but at least we're having those conversations. So exposure is going to come from you. So keep, I would just say, don't solely depend on, the schools. Make your children leaders. You can do it. You can do it. We can do it. We want to thank you so much for joining us. And before we go, though, I want to make sure that you all know that Fly Nubian Money is on Spotify. So check us out. Go to spotify.com, click subscribe, and make sure that you're sharing the show with somebody else. Make sure that you are liking and subscribing. Y'all, we need you. We need you to share. If you enjoy what we do here, make sure that you share it with others. And then if you want to get notifications for when we go live, text the word Queens to 87948. That's Queens to 87948. That's Queens to 87948. All right. So, Debra, what you got for us, sis? What is the Black fact of the day?
Okay. So today we have Clyde Foster. And Clyde Foster worked at NASA for nearly 30 years, helping with calculations for rockets. Soon after he joined NASA, he was asked to train a white colleague to be his boss. He complained, refusing the assignment. He then demanded that they start a program to train Black workers. They agreed. His experience at NASA gave him confidence, which led him to a career in politics and community activism, dedicated to improving Black people's lives. Clyde Foster.
Clyde Foster. And I was trying to upload a dang, trying to let's show you what Clyde Foster looked like. There's Mr. Foster, Clive Foster.
Uncle
So
Clyde.
so
Yeah.
that is our Black Fact for today. Listen, y'all, we love you most. We thank you for staying with us. Until tomorrow, we'll be here tomorrow at 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Go out and be a good human being. We love you, love you, love you. We will see you tomorrow. Goodbye.